Hello everyone, welcome to the 17th tutorial in the series of Complete Guide to React.js. In this tutorial, we are going to see how event handling is handled in React.js. To the persons, those who are not aware of like what is event, say for example, if I'm just getting into a browser, I'm just clicking on refresh button, so there is some event has been triggered. And if there is some button over here, like I'm just clicking on this element, there is an event has been triggered. So event is nothing but an action that is being triggered on performing something in a browser. So that is called as an event. And in this tutorial, we are going to see how it is getting handled in React.js. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder in source. I'm going to call it as tutorial 17. So in that folder, I'm going to create a new file named as login.js. So in this login.js, I'm going to create a functional component. So at first, I'm going to explain you guys how to handle event handling in functional components. So we know that we have some code snippet and that is nothing but RSF, which would generate the functional components for ES6 code snippet and RSF. I'm going to click on tab. It will give you a functional components, and in this I'm going to create a button. So a button named login with this one, and I'm just going to save it, and I'm also going to import it over here and verify what is happening. So I'm going to remove all the import and the class we had used, components we had used. So in this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the login functional components, whichever that we have created from dot slash tutorial 17, and in that tutorial 17 the component name is login. It is automatically getting populated for you. So over here I'm just going to mention login and going to close it with slash and with a closing element. So once I click on save, you can able to see the login button is there. So right now, after clicking this button, you will see that no function is, nothing is happening. That is because we are not defined any function for it. So action for it. So what we are going to do is we are going to mention that right now. So the button is having a event trigger which is called on click. So over here, one thing that you have to specifically note over here in React is this on click event handler is nothing but a camel case, capital C. In general, in JavaScript, what you would be doing is you would be mentioning small c. Over here, it should be capital C. So, and I'm going to put that in two empty braces. So in this braces, I have to mention the name of the function, whichever I am going to call it. So right now, I'm going to give some name like, I'm sorry, login handler, and this handler should be defined over here. So I'm going to call it as function login handler. So in JavaScript, as many number of functions you can have nested. That means inside a function you can have another function, and over here you can have another functions. So that is called as a nested functions. So you can have a number of nested functions in JavaScript. So there is no constraint for that. So in the login handler, I'm going to write a message that alert login handler has been clicked. So it should be in a single quotes. It's recommended. It is not mandatory that you have to put a single quote, but it is recommended. So login component is called. So I'm going to save it and let's see what happens. I'm going to click on login, and the alert message is coming over here saying that the login component is called. Perfect. So right now we will also see like how the event handling is happening in the class as well, class component as well. For that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to mention it as class login.js, and we have a code snippet for that. It is nothing but rcc. Going to enter that, and I'm going to mention the button over here, and I'm going to mention it as class login, and I'm going to close the same button, and I've exported it, and I also have to import it over here. So I'll verify over here whether the class login is getting called. So over here I'm going to mention the same tutorial 17 slash class login, and I'm also going to define the same over here, class login, and I'm going to put an empty parenthesis. So right now I imported this, and in the class login I have mentioned a button class login. So let's see like whether it is coming over there. It is throwing me some exception saying that in app.js line number, refreshed it. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the app.js, and over here it is saying, okay, I have not mentioned the class over here. The spelling mistake is there, and hence it is showing. Or else, what I can do is, if it is class login with single S, I can also mention like this. Whatever the name is over here, that has to be represented over here. Yep, over here. And I'm clicking the class login over here. It is not giving me any event handling is basically not happening over here. So no action is getting triggered. Over here it is getting triggered because this is functional components. So in class login, we will add the function and see whether the event is getting triggered or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the function over here. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to mention it as click handler, and I'm going to put it over here. So over here, it is throwing me an error saying that the functional components should not be written over here. So what does it says? Over here, it says, React says, hey, you are writing a event handler somewhere outside the render where I am not able to access it. So you have to write inside the render method so that it is getting accessed by React. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it over here. So right now it doesn't throws an error right now. So I am also going to write alert. I'm getting called inside, getting called inside class component. Perfect. So I'm also going to write an event handler, make sure that C is in caps. So I'm going to write like this, and then braces, open braces and the close braces. I'm going to mention click handler. Saving this. It's not defined. So it is in caps, and hence the same thing has to be over here. Saving it. Yes, it appears. I'm going to click it. Yeah, it shows that I'm getting called as a inside the class component, and same for the functional components. Perfect. So one more thing I just want to keep you guys posted where the beginners would make some mistake when they are writing some program in React in a project is the click handler over here is there, right? Most of them would have a open bracket and the close bracket like this, and we would see there would be an issue. I'm going to explain what is an issue. So I have mentioned the open bracket and the close bracket. There is nothing but the function will call, and let's see what happens in the browser. So as soon as I get into the browser, you see this particular alert message that we have mentioned over here is called first before even refreshing the browser. The browser is still getting refreshed and you call this event. What happens over here? So if you mention open bracket and the close bracket over here, what React would take is it would take that this particular click handler should be loaded first and then the other components whichever that is present over here which is in the return method, then it would then it would populate those contents in the browser. So we need to avoid writing this open bracket and the close bracket. This is the usual thing that we used to do in JavaScript, but over here in React you should not have that open bracket and the close bracket over here. So this one key thing that we have to make a note, because most of the beginners with in React they would mention this open bracket and the close bracket, and thereby what happens is the React would execute this particular function at first. Over here, the function is just an alert message, and hence it is not a big deal. But in case if you are having some complex functions and you're calling that with the open bracket and the close bracket with the handler functions, so what it would happen is it would make your application inert. It would get infinitely getting loaded and there would be a lot of problem. So I just want to keep you guys posted that the function handler should be handled like this. And in the next tutorial, I'll also explain how to bind these event in class and functional components. That's it for today. I'll see you in next tutorial.